Mixolydian mode is the 5th mode within the major scale. This mode, let's start out by showing you the shape first of all, then showing you how to practice, then explaining the theory behind it, and then showing how it links to one key and how it links with the Ionian, the Dorian, the Phrygian and the Lydian modes. I'm going to demonstrate the shape in G Mixolydian, which puts the key in C major. So you want to start out on the low E string. We're going to play 3rd fret, 5th fret, and then 7th fret. Then on the next string, the A string, you're going to do exactly the same frets, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. Then on the next string, the D string, you're going to do exactly the same again, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. Then on the G string, the next one, you're going to go 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. Then on the B string, you're going to go 5th fret, 6th fret, 8th fret. And then on the high E string, you're going to go 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. If I played all of that in total, it would be this. And how to practice. So let's say 4 weeks ago, I started learning the Ionian mode. 3 weeks ago, I started learning the Dorian mode. 2 weeks ago, I started learning the Phrygian mode. 1 week ago, I started learning the Lydian mode. And today, I'm starting to learn the Mixolydian mode. I would make sure that I'm still practicing all of those previous modes as well as working on this. Don't ever stop working on all of the previous modes as they're all tied together. I would expect to make mistakes to start off with. However, I would try my hardest not to make them, but I wouldn't let it bother me so much if I do make them, as when you make the mistakes, as you go on more and you make them less, that's achieving goals with it, and that's seeing progress. I would practice playing it maybe 2 times up and down, and then I would try it so all picked up and down, and then I would practice randomizing it with hammers and slides like it would more realistically be if I was improvising. And I would do this every time I pick up the guitar, do it for a good few repeats before I start playing and jamming songs or working songs out or learning new parts of songs or learning riffs and etc. So as a demonstration, I'd pick it, first of all, up, down, and then I'd basically do the same thing but legato, hammered with slides. And I just do that every day with the other modes, just one after the other, and your practice routine will become longer and longer and longer. But before you know it, all of these modes will be ingrained in your playing, and when you are improvising, the practice will pay off. Same with if you're songwriting and writing solos and etc. Now, don't forget, first of all, that the shape is the important part, not the frets. So it's the distance between the frets that's important. So we're playing it in G Mixolydian, key of C major. If I moved it up by 2 frets, 1, 2, play the exact same shape there, then I'm playing A Mixolydian. It's the shape that defines it. That's the important part for the guitar. Just think in terms of shapes and you won't get it wrong. If you think purely frets, so 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, you'll get yourself confused when you start on different frets, because we're no longer 3, 5, 7. It's now, if I'm here starting doing it in A Mixolydian, then it's going to be 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 9. So remember the shape, the distance between the frets. Now let's run through the theory of it. So compared to the major scale, the Ionian mode, the Mixolydian scale is almost exactly the same. It's just got a flat 7th. That's all. So that means the 7th note in the major scale, or the Ionian mode, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This note is flattened. So that would be there. So where this note here in the major scale is an F sharp, it would be every single F sharp would be flattened. So it'd be a fret lower. So every single F sharp would be an F instead. That would give us the Mixolydian mode. The step sequence for it goes, it starts at the root and it goes whole tone, semitone, whole tone, semitone, whole tone, and then you're back at the root of the Mixolydian. Now let's learn how it is combined and linked into the major scale with the Ionian mode, the Dorian mode, the Phrygian mode, and the Lydian mode. It's getting long now, that list. So in the key of G major, so that means that Ionian mode would land at the G, because that is the major mode that defines the key of what you're playing in. Where would the Mixolydian mode land? So the G major mode, we know that the Dorian mode, the first note of it starts on the second note of the Ionian mode. So we go to the second note, we go into the Dorian position, the Dorian shape. The Phrygian mode, which is the next one, we know that that first note of the Phrygian mode is the same as the second note of the Dorian mode. So we go there, we play the Phrygian shape. We know that the Lydian mode, the first note of that mode, is the same as the second note of the Phrygian mode. So we go to there, we do the Lydian shape. And then the Mixolydian mode, the first note of the Mixolydian mode is the same as the second note of the Lydian mode. So this note, and we would play in the key of G major, we would play the Mixolydian shape at D. So it would be here. And you see how it just sounds right to resolve on that G. It doesn't necessarily sound bad on the Mixolydian to resolve on the D, but it doesn't quite sound as right as the G does. So, great way to practice this, up and down in each mode within one key. So if you pick a key, I'm going to pick the key of G, start with my Ionian, I'll go up, down, then I'll move to the Dorian position of that key, up, down, Phrygian position of that key, up, down, Lydian position of that key, up, down, then finally the Mixolydian position of that key, up, down. And you'll now notice that we're using quite a large percentage now of the neck. And again, see there how it just sounds right to resolve on that G note because it's in the key of G major. And then when you're feeling really confident, as always, you can go up in one, down in the other, up in one, down in the other, and you keep going. So a demonstration of that would be up in the Ionian, down in the Dorian, up in the Phrygian, down in the Lydian, and then finally up in the Mixolydian. And it just sounds right again to end on that G note there. So there's a great way to link them all together so far and get used to using more of the neck, and before you know it, you'll be improvising, soloing with them in no time. The next mode that we're going to do is a super important one that's just as important as the Ionian mode. So before you move on to that and start learning the next mode, make sure you've got all of those modes tight, feeling really tight to play, where you can play them naturally. Speed's not a bother, so don't worry if you can do them but you can't do them at high speed, as long as you can do them comfortably and you understand how to play them and how they're linked for a key.